On September 19, 2018, Marjolein Haasnoot participated in a debate on De Afspraak, Flemish television, stating that the sea level is rising much more quickly than expected. If nothing is done to mitigate CO2 emissions significantly, there could be a rise in sea level of between 2 and 3 meters by the end of this century. Marjolein Haasnoot is a cum laude graduate at the Technical University Delft and a researcher in water management at Deltares, Holland. Sybren Drijfhout, an ocean scientist at KMNI and a professor in climate dynamics at the Technical University Utrecht, regards the statements of Haasnoot as useful, but premature in advocating radical action. Further studies should be made. Data from NOAA, Gestemp, Berkeley, Cotan and Way, and Hartkrut put it bluntly. There was a 0.8 degrees Celsius rise in the global mean surface temperature from the period 1962-1984 up to 2017. Icebergs float, sea ice melts, ice shelves collapse, glaciers speed up. If the Greenland ice sheet melted, the sea level would rise by approximately 6 meters. That's 20 feet. If the Antarctic ice sheet melted, the sea level would rise by approximately 60 meters. That's 200 feet. With every 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature, 1.5 million square miles of permafrost could be lost through thawing. This process would release methane, which is 25 times stronger a greenhouse gas than CO2. Moderate, recent 2014 scientific reports indicate the sea level will rise 0.65 meters by 2100 AD. The number of hurricanes seems stable over the past 150 years. The strength of the storms, however, is fueled by global warming, causing damage to coastal areas. A longer warm weather season and changing rainfall patterns are allowing insects carrying diseases into broader areas. The Earth is surrounded by an atmosphere, a layer of gases. This layer protects life by creating pressure, allowing for liquid water, absorbing ultraviolet solar radiation, warming the surface of the planet through heat retention, and reducing temperature extremes between day and night. Some of the heat is bounced back into space, and some is trapped within the Earth's atmosphere by the greenhouse gases. Natural land and ocean carbon remain roughly in balance and have done so for millennia, an ecosystem so to speak. However, consider what happens when more CO2 is released from outside the natural carbon cycle. Although our output of 29 gigatons of CO2 is tiny compared with the 750 gigatons moving through the carbon cycle each year, it impacts because the land and ocean cannot absorb all the extra CO2. About 40% of the extra carbon is absorbed, but the rest remains in the atmosphere. Consequently, atmospheric CO2 is at its highest level in 15 to 20 million years. Since the Industrial Revolution, the number of particles per million has risen from 280 to 400. Some people find it difficult to make decisions not based on data they have captured via their natural given senses. If you cannot see, hear, smell, feel or taste it, it does not exist. Some of us, however, believe in science and are aware data gathered by scientists are important, reliable and trustworthy. Climate change is not new. The discovery of the Earth's atmosphere's functioning as a greenhouse was made in 1824 Scientists observe, analyze, classify, and make predictions with an attention to detail. They persevere and regard failure as a natural part of the scientific process. They communicate and share ideas and information. They seek to explain what is really happening based on verifiable data, observations, and information. They inform the public and the policymakers. Merchants of doubt have gone to great lengths to discredit climate change, attacking the 98% consensus. The consensus on consensus. A synthesis of consensus estimates on human-caused global warming of 2016 explains the 98% consensus between climatology scientists. The analysis of John Cook et al. Make it clear. People who question the outcome of the consensus are not scientists in the field of climatology. In other words, if you have some trouble with your car, ask a car mechanic what is wrong with it. Do not ask a washing machine technician. The expertise is different. Economic activity peaks when the mean temperature is 13 degrees Celsius. Doing nothing regarding climate change means the reduction of global economic activity could be as large as 20%. Climate change will benefit some countries, especially countries at high altitudes. Overall, countries in Northern Europe will experience temperature changes that should see economic activity increase. The effect in France and Belgium will be neutral. The Netherlands will benefit slightly, provided they develop a solution for a rise in sea level of about 1.2 meters by 2100. If the sea level rises by 1 meter, islands in the Pacific and elsewhere will disappear. Such a rise would also mean 40% of the fertile land that produces food for the planet will be salinized. Huge migrations will be unavoidable as people try to find food for themselves and their children. Delaying mitigation efforts will result in the build-up of climate change consequences, especially considering nature has a 50-year delay to reacting to our CO2 emissions. The new IPCC synthesis report states that carbon emissions need to fall by 40 to 70% worldwide between 2010 and 2050 and need to be zero or below by 2100. Therefore, action needs to be taken now all over the world by everybody. We have the means to limit climate change, said R.K. Pachauri, chair of the IPCC. The solutions are many and allow for continued economic and human development. All we need is the will to change, which we'll trust, will be motivated by knowledge and an understanding of the science of climate change. The longer we wait to act, the more it will cost to adapt and mitigate climate change. Compared to the imminent risk of irreversible climate change impacts, the risks of mitigation are manageable. This is according to Yoba Sokona. Climate action is no longer confined to the direction given by policymakers. It is now a social movement commanded by both economic and ethical imperatives and supported by growing amounts of data. This movement is of great interest for the building industry also. Thanks for watching.